Wow, that has never happened. Thank
Thank
you.
you. I was trying.
That has never happened. Welcome to Impact Media Presents. Today we are featuring Live Pause Lifestyle. Oh my goodness. And this is our uncensored conversation. It was so hot that it had to be muted. So we're going to try that again. Denise, welcome back. The
Thank you.
founder of WisePause Lifestyle. We promised that we would come back and have a
Yeah.
real grown adult women conversation about, the topics that were covered at your conference. And so we're calling this uncensored because we want it, straight with no chaser today, ladies. Denise, many accolades. You created the conference. You're the creative inspiration behind the Hot Flash Tea, co-author of, and I went through all of that, but it was muted. Went through all of that. Have to laugh. Oh my gosh, that's the first. My 34th episode. That's how I started it off. This is our 34th episode of Impact Media Presents. That has never happened. So thank you, Denise, for being here.
Of course.
As I was mentioning, you are the co-author of the Fem Aging 2020 the Health Tech Report, in addition to being a 3-term president with the Medical Board of California. And Dr. Gail Jackson, just a leading specialist in holistic and bioidentical hormonal balancing for women. Board certified, has been, board certified for the American Board of Obstetrics and Gynecology, and is emeritus at Cedars-Sinai Health Medical Center in Los Angeles, and has had phenomenal success in transitioning your practice to focus exclusively on how women can be fabulous at 45 and beyond. We thank you for joining us. And Kamali Mentor, I know the ladies are going to be very excited about what you have to share around love and intimacy as a love and intimacy coach, and your passion around helping people restore love, pleasure, connection, and their bodies and relationships. And that you are an actual global certified Tantra expert. So we definitely want to hear more about all of that. I guess it was too hot the first time. So second time is a charm. Let's start with why, ladies. Why do you do this work? Let's start with Kamali. Tell us why you do this work. And then we'll go to Dr. Gail. And then Denise, you can just refresh the viewers around why you've done this work.
Sure.
Yeah, well, I feel like this work called me because I needed it for myself initially. As a woman who's in a relationship, there was a lot that I got to a point where I just needed to figure out, and I did a deep dive for my own personal healing first of the relationships in my life, which led to this path. And eventually it just became a way of life. It changes everything in your life, which is why I'm so passionate about now sharing it with people. I say whatever's happening in your sex life or in your relationships is happening throughout your life. So you show me a little sneak peek about what's going on there, and we start working on that, and those changes will actually bleed into all other parts of your life. And connection, I'm just passionate about connection. I mean, especially with the state of the world as it is now.
Yeah.
I feel like beyond just the sexual connection, intimacy is what's really needed and difficult to achieve. Intimacy, the vulnerability it requires. And these are skills that we don't get taught in our upbringing, in our schools. And so when I see people get reconnected to the tools that help them connect to their own bodies and their own selves, learn how to connect to the people around them and their communities, and then also connect with the environment, and other things, it bleeds out and changes how they do their lives. So it's for all those reasons, I am incredibly passionate about sharing this work.
It's very important work, very, very important work. And I think a topic that is not easily accessible, or support that's not easily accessible. And thank you so much for what you do. And we look forward to hearing a whole lot more, about that. Dr. Gail Jackson, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I enjoyed you so much at WisePause last year and learned so much. You're just a wealth of information around lots of issues that pertain to women specifically in our overall feminine health. Thank you. Tell us why you do this work.
Kelly, thank you again for having me, and Denise, and great to meet Kamali. Well, the woman's the best of her life, the rest of her life, excuse me, should be the best of her life.
Yeah.
No longer do we have the burdens of the children. They're all gone off on their own, and you have a partner now. And you should be free to fully experience everything in your relationship. You should be free to experience and excel to every height possible in your business world. And hormone balancing really is the key to that. And so we offer, and it's been my life's challenge to just uncover all the secrets that a woman over 45 needs to be absolutely fabulous the best of her life. And our ladies are 45 to 75 and beyond.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, it's very hard to find Black women specializing, in this field. And it's important that we can go to get quality care from people that look like us and understand us and our issues as it relates to, our bodies, our minds, our souls. And so again, thank you both for this. And Denise, the person who pulls everybody together to talk about all these subjects, tell us again why you do this work and your calling around it.
I think I do this work because, unfortunately, more and more women, and even young women now, are seeing themselves more as a diagnosis or a problem or something that needs to be solved. And women's health is so much more than simply a medical intervention. And so it's the reason why we had such a variety of topics and conversations, and a variety of doctors and practitioners to show that, we're not just something being wrong with us, right? Yes. But we're really about everything that's right with our bodies, right? And what we need to do that. So WisePause is just a pro-aging health and sort of educational platform designed to empower and connect women with trusted and critical information, and to wrap them around a supportive community, and to provide them with actionable, reliable resources on their journey into midlife and beyond.
Well, from me and all of the previous participants live, as well as those who viewed online on the 12th of September, we thank you for pulling this wealth of information under one roof, on one platform, all day, because it's again, as I said earlier, it's so hard to find. And you've simplified our research process and narrowed down some of the top experts that we can really trust and rely on to deliver such sensitive information around topics that can sometimes be hard for women and women of color in particular to talk about. So thank you.
And that's a good, you make a good point. The other thing too is, almost kind of like everywhere else, as if there's no experts in this space that look like us, right? Dr. Jackson has been in Los Angeles doing this work for years. I mean, she's, if you knew who some of her clients were, you would want to get in line to meet them. Yes. But she works with, everyday women as well. And Kamali is a gem. I mean, when you look in the Tantra space, there is maybe this many real certified expert Tantra experts who are African American. And the work is real special, and she'll talk more about that later on. But I also wanted to make sure that we brought the plethora of knowledge that's already in our community, yes, to women around the world. I mean, WisePause, we had people from Australia, Abu Dhabi, Africa, Italy, the UK. They were everywhere watching. Yes. And they got to see beautiful Black women present this information.
No, I love it. And whatever city I live in, I'm always looking specifically for Black women doctors in every space if I can find them. So in LA, I have Dr. Valerie Grant, who's my primary care physician, Dr. Marsha Martinson, who's my OBGYN. I have a Black dentist. So we just try to, find it. Of course, with my foggy brain, I'll blame it on that today. I'm like, my dentist is also a Virgo. We've got 3 Virgos here. Give a shout out to the Virgos and the birthday girls for this month. And Kamali, the March, happy belated. I cannot believe I can't think of my dentist's name, but I'll give her a shout out a little later. She just had a birthday over this past week.
Tony Henderson.
Yes, Tony Henderson. I'm like, goodness.
Because she was born 18th.
Exactly. Is that your birthday too?
She's
the 13th. The 13th. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I digress. Let's dig in. Dr. Jackson, you were featured on the panel on the 12th around women in transition and what women can expect as they transition to menopause. So let's just go right to it. Tell us what exactly is hormone replacement therapy.
Well, when women reach the age of mid-40s in many, but definitely at age 50, they start experiencing some symptoms. And quite often they go to their practitioner and they're just told, well, your blood levels are fine. Go work out a little bit, relax a little more. This is just something you will live with. The reason that I always like to share with people that I'm board certified in obstetrics and gynecology and on staff at Cedars-Sinai is I have the wealth of the world knowledge available to me, and none of this is in any of that curriculum. This is integrative medicine, holistic medicine, a whole nother faction of medicine where all this information is. So when women in their mid-40s, they have these little nagging symptoms that they really felt like can't do anything for, such as irritability, mood swings, low libido, weight gain, fatigue, difficulty sleeping, memory, focus. I think the most common symptom I hear in the mid-40s is I'm working out the same, I'm eating the same. Why am I looking like a Pillsbury Doughboy? Where are my curves? What happened to my curves? When they get closer to 50, 49, 50, they break my door down because it's that hot flash. You're sitting in there and you're focused, you're delivering your speech, and you just begin to drip. Some varying degrees and others, but it can be very miserable. It can be very, it can interrupt a woman's sleep. And if a woman doesn't have a good night's sleep, she's not going to function the next day. So women are going through some changes as, again, they are now entering the best times of their life. So we want to just replenish these hormones that are deficient so they can live fuller and for the rest of their lives. So in their 40s, it's usually testosterone deficiency. And a lot of people are like, wow, I didn't even know women had testosterone because it is a hormone. Well, the women have 1/10 of it. And oh boy, does that balancing that 1/10 make a difference in your life. Men love women who love sex. Getting your testosterone balance, you'll really love sex. You'll have all the red bottom shoes, all the jewelry, whatever you want, you'll have. Because as women, they kind of inch toward 50, the main symptom, the main deficiency is estrogen. And that's the one we hear about. So women choose bioidentical hormones because they're not associated with the symptoms of the artificial hormones. Testosterone is not even available in an artificial way that's convenient. And so that's why women tend to choose bioidentical hormones, because they want something that's safe and they want something that's effective during the best times of their life without the side effects. They don't want the risk of the cardiovascular side effects and the increase of breast cancer, et cetera.
So are hormone imbalances inherited?
Yes and no. I mean, I wouldn't bank on it. Like you say, Mom, how old were you when you started your period? But there's always your dad's mom. So they're not inherited, but everyone experiences is different. So it's a very individual experience. You could have watched your mom just be absolutely miserable, just your whole home in turmoil, and you could just breeze through it like, what was wrong with Mom? or you could have your mom could have transitioned through it with no problems, and you could be miserable, and she doesn't understand why you're so crazy
Mm. Interesting. Interesting.
or out of balance. How about that?
Yes. And so how does it actually help bring you back into balance before, perimenopause?
Well, because our bodies are deficient. Our bodies are wired. That's
Hmm.
always a question I get. Why are my hormones depleted? Our bodies
Right.
are wired to keep us alive and during our reproductive years. Then, the turn of the 1900s, people died in their 40s because of the advent of medicine, most importantly, treatment of infection. But technology, we live twice and three times of those years. Well, our endocrine organs didn't get the news flash. They didn't get the notice that they're supposed to also provide us and support us through the rest of our lives. So
Mm.
this is why we have the balance. Every night you hear a commercial, a new medication for diabetes. That's merely pancreatic imbalance. You hear someone
Mm.
with thyroid disease. That's endocrine organ imbalance. Those are major endocrine organs. When they're not balanced, it's incompatible with a reasonable life and existence. The other hormones are secondary hormones. So when they're balanced, you feel way amazing, but you can live when they're not balanced. You just live more fuller when they are balanced,
I
more
see.
fully balanced.
How long can you take the bioidentical hormones?
As long as you need, as long as you want them and desire them.
Okay.
So you can start whenever. Majority of our ladies start around 50. We have quite a few 45-year-olds. We don't have anyone. We don't have anyone upper 70s. We have a couple in 70s because if you got 70-year-old and 80-year-old aunts and grandma and mama and them, it's something about them. They got to wear that little jean cap with the beads on it, or they got to have a little something on their arms, right? I can't go outside if I put a little something on my arm. So whatever happens toward like late 70s, mid to late 70s in many women, they tend to become cool. But it always brings me to the point where there are long-term benefits of bioidentical hormones. So women tell me, oh, that menopause thing, I've been through that. Well, menopause is really the symptoms of menopause, or menopause is no more cycles for the rest of your life. And there are long-term benefits of balancing, such as prevention of osteoporosis, which is the following osteoporosis is probably one of the major causes of death of women in nursing homes. Prevention of
Mm.
Alzheimer's and dementia, protection of your heart. So even if you feel like, I've kind of been through that, you may want to continue hormone balancing in a lower dose, of course, just to protect you from those untoward effects later on in your life.
I'm so glad you shared that, because what I've been hearing from, people in my inner circle is, oh, the hormones don't really work. They really, cause more problems than they are helpful. And so I just have kind of shunned away from that conversation. And I haven't necessarily felt like I needed it
Mm-hmm.
yet, but I should be open to exploring based on what you've said, because I believe I could live more fuller. Uh, and didn't even know that that was a possibility. But I know that I'm definitely going through some changes. So thank you for that.
Sure. And often when
Thank
you
you.
answer the questionnaire, you're like, wow, yeah, I have that, but I didn't think there was anything you could do about it. I just thought there was something you had to accept.
Yes. And so let's shift to Kamali for a little bit. You were on the panel, Can I Still Have Heart-Stopping Sex? And reviving your drive. And they say that sex is supposed to get better at midlife. Is that true? Tell us about that and why, and how we can get more of that.
Well, definitely, yeah, the possibility is there.
Okay, we want to know.
For a lot of
Inquiring minds want to know.
and challenges, right? So some of the
Mhm.
things that come with like maturing as a woman is more confidence in both our bodies and what we like and what we don't like. We get better with boundaries, and a lot of things that are important to being able to be empowered in creating good lovemaking, right? And there's some other challenges, like some of the things that we're talking about in terms of changes in the body that can take place. So energy levels are a big factor in terms of what's creating or allowing arousal and desire or a libido to be there. Changes in hormones, these can affect what we're feeling, the amount of sensation we can feel, dryness, vaginal dryness, and different changes in our pleasure anatomy. And then there's also just buildup that can take place over the course of a life, because the way I teach about and approach sexuality is that it's multi-layered. So often we're talking about the biology of it or the physicality of it, but really what creates amazing sex lives on all layers, mentally, emotionally, and physically.
Absolutely.
So when we're talking about how do we really have heart, you want to stop your heart.
Right.
We're talking about some next level sexuality, not just like hitting an orgasm, right?
Right.
So
there's a next level beyond.
There's a next level.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, and this is not to discount so women just trying to get to the first level, because I understand that sometimes just getting to the point where you have some kind of desire, or you can create arousal, or you can reach an orgasm is in of itself an amazing accomplishment. So not to diminish
and having
that.
those three levels, having all three of those levels working together, even in a marriage, can be a challenge.
Exactly.
So
yes, and that's exactly right. It's like, so it's one thing when we're having sex with ourselves, which can be a little bit easier. I often work with women one-on-one, single or in relationship, because when I get to work with just the woman by herself, I get to teach her things about her body and work on all those levels emotionally, mentally, to have established different connections and to give her a new experience of how to be with her body, with or without a partner. Because once you introduce a partner into the mix, it gets more complicated.
I didn't realize there was coaching for sex with yourself. I had no idea.
Yes.
When I was at the conference, I think I missed that workshop coming late. I regret it. I'm playing catch up here. Okay, so you talked about build up, and you were going on a path, but I just want to make sure we're all tracking with. You said something about there's this build up.
Yeah, build up.
I have an idea what build up means for me. What do you mean by
that? Not talking about dandruff or So I'm talking about really it's emotional buildup, So
okay, that too.
Emotions are a big part of actually what give us access to our eroticism and to our sexuality. And with women, there's, especially like being emotional creatures that we are, there can be, if there's not a practice of regularly clearing and working with those emotions, both for yourself and in your partnership, if you're in partnership, then that buildup can create tension. I call it like an armoring, like an emotional armoring, where we literally start to shut down our feelings. And we need to feel in order to feel good, right? So
that's true. And is that people say that's primarily assigned to women. Is that really true? That women are the only ones who really experience it in that way? And do we really need to have that emotional connection in order to really enjoy, the experience or feel emotionally connected? Because again, it could be with your husband and you could, be hurt emotionally, and feel a little disconnected. So is that really true that it's really assigned more to women than men?
Well, I mean, as far as sex goes, I do find that it works a little bit differently in male bodies and female bodies. Both emotions affect everybody. So emotions are right? So they affect everybody. But there is, because when we're experiencing our sexuality, there's two levels where, you can actually stimulate yourself physically and just go with the biology of sensation and stimulation and have an experience. But you can actually still not be fully enjoying yourself, like Dr. Gail's talking about, that fullness of what's possible, where sex can feel pretty empty or flat because you're not accessing the emotional layers. So there's like layers beyond just the like, if you learn how to fiddle and diddle and rub and all these different things, you can get some feeling happening, but it's going to be short-lived and often not the depth of satisfaction. That is what I hear a lot of women are looking for. They're like, I just want more. I hear that a lot from them. Like, I want more out of my intimate connections. And I think sometimes what I'll find with men is they're more interested in being good lovers. Like, they want to be pleasing. They're like, I want I want her to think I'm amazing. And they just don't know how. Like, they don't know the pathway, because, you know, the female body is a more complex body to actually get that fuller sexual experience happening.
And then every woman is different, right?
Yes. Every woman's different. And that's the other thing. What works with one woman is not going to work with another. So yeah, it's very important to create like individual understanding of how your body works. And that's an important one, actually, because I find a lot with women, there's a comparison thing that takes place where women are comparing their own sexual experience to what they think other women are experiencing and what they should be experiencing. So a lot of what we're working through initially is just like these ideas around our sexuality that have been sort of handed to us, and without even knowing how our own bodies work or how they should work.
So when someone comes to see you, do you like develop a love and intimacy plan, or like what? How does that work?
Yeah, it's
I love it.
It's twofold.
Do you get homework assignments?
I do, but I call it home play.
Okay.
Because it's all about restoring the play. And my approach is to restore the play in the sense of innocence, so that it doesn't feel like homework. But it is a practice. And I tell people, like, just like mastering any skill, like if you were going to learn how to play an instrument well, which I think about the body as an instrument, you would have to practice that instrument regularly, right? And do your scales and other things that aren't sexy about playing that instrument. So I'm teaching people a handful of different tools, working with their awareness, working with their breath, working with sensation, working with fantasy, journaling. And so they're getting all these different tools and practices to basically unlearn some things, learn some new things, and create new skills around how you have that amazing sex. Wow.
I love it. Denise, these are your panelists originally. Is there anything that you want to pull out of them? Or, you know, I know you know a lot of these answers already, but anything you want to chime in?
Well, I would have Kamali expand a little bit more about how women are in their head a lot, right? And how we've been in our head. So religion in our head, what we saw in our own family. Yeah. So if you could expand a little bit more on those.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking. There's so many things that construct our identity sexually that we're completely unaware of because they were just part of our lives, our lived experience. And a lot of that has to do with our institutions. So what we learned from religious institutions, from schooling, from our peers, and then also what we learned within our own sexual experiences. You know, sometimes we have violations in our past or traumas. Other times we never learned our own body. The way we learned our body was through what other people were doing to it or told us we should be doing with it. So there's actually quite a bit that's been unconsciously formed around how we approach sex. And there's a lot to kind of unpack there and look at what's happening. Because when we get frustrated that we can't have a certain experience or a certain feeling, we blame it on ourselves. Like I'm broken or there's something wrong with me. When really a lot of it has to do with the mental constructs that have been put into place without really seeing what's there. The other piece that's a big factor is just the pace of our lives, right? Like women hold so much together, families, businesses, you know, organizations, like that we are running. It's an amazing thing what's happened as women have been given back power, what we are doing with it. And we're often the last thing on our plates, you know, to give our energy back to. So that has an impact. And what I find a lot is there's a lot of mental chatter, both about our bodies, about our partners, about all the things happening around us that are a distraction. They're a barrier to actually us being in contact with our own sensations, much less pleasure. You know, so we're stuck in sort of a stress response, which can prevent us from accessing even the most basic kinds of pleasure. Yeah.
Yes. And Dr. Jackson, I want you to chime in. And as you chime in, whatever you want to say, but also tell us about that special procedure that you do that allows women to have some more pleasure. I remember that. I don't remember what it's called, but I said, when I get some money, we're going to see about that.
Kelly, I owe you. Just come on. Just
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we make sex fun in our office. We talk about it. We talk to women, and I think one of the most important things providers need to do is ask women about sex. And
Yes.
our time is so limited in a general gynecological exam that you just want to deal with the problem, take care of the problem, and go. Um, but there's so many women who are not having sex. There's so many women who are married and not having sex.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm going to ask you a question, but I posed them the question. I said, so, you know, your husband's gift of monogamy, monogamy is a gift your husband gives you. So, that's my opinion. Okay. And, so he gives you the gift, you ask him to be monogamous, yet you deny him sex. And it's also, well, then the response is I. But I think women don't understand how powerful having sex with their husband is. You can really, I don't know who's married and who's not, but you can pulse your husband's mood, activity, how money is at work, how things, everything from intercourse. Because, and when he, and just think about it, when he reaches out to you and he wants to hold you and be intimate with you, for you to turn away is really way more dramatic to their ego than you can ever
Absolutely.
imagine. And how easy it is, you've all faked it. You know, how easy it is, like, yeah, baby. You know, I was blessed that I had a father who taught me a lot about men and told me things way before I needed to know these things. But, you know, one of the things he told me that stuck, and I was like really young, he said, you never deny your husband sex. Now, I'm not talking about abusive situations, but I mean,
Right.
he just helped me to understand that it's way more than dating sex. You didn't treat me right. You didn't give me this. You didn't do this, whatever, whatever. You've committed to the marriage. Divorce is
Right.
not an option. And lots of
It's
times,
not a bargaining tool.
it's not a bargaining tool, and it's not a
Right.
power, right. And so many women,
Right. A power play.
yeah, they use it for power. It's
Yeah.
And often when men, when things are a little bit off kilter, having sex with him usually is one of the first ways to communicate, to begin the communication again. And
Mm.
I understood how powerful it was to want your husband to have sex with your husband. They would never not have sex with their husband. And many of us are having aging husbands. I'm a good bit younger than my husband, and they are going through. Every comedian is joking, saying, you know, like Lunel said, well, I got 50, when she said, I was with this man, he told me I got 57 fucks left, and they talk about the, and if you got the soft dick, you better go home with your wife. Don't look around this club, think you're going to because, the new woman ain't going to handle the soft dick. So, they're getting all these messages.
Yes, they are.
They're not going to be able to, and most men are on medication. I mean, they're taking their little pill. The pill lasts 36 hours. Get the best of those 36 hours. So,
yes.
what was your question? I'm so sorry.
Well, all you said, I told you to share what you wanted to share.
Okay.
So that was it. But I also asked you to tell us about that procedure, that special procedure that you do that I'm sure all of the women watching want to know about, whether they use it now or later.
Right. Now it's better than later. So, really when women don't want to have sex and I draw their testosterone level, let's say we balance them between 150 and 200 and their testosterone level is 5, then they're reassured and that it's not in their mind. Their testosterone levels in the toilet. So once you get them balanced, it'll increase their libido and they want to have sex. So then there's the issue of vaginal dryness. So we just sent them, I wish I'd stopped to Trader Joe's with that vitamin E oil. It feels, tastes, whatever, like do it fluid back in the old days. Do it like, oh,
no, I think you have to break that down.
Yeah, this you owe me. This is me. I'm that lubricated. Oh, and then you tell your husband, like, oh baby, yeah, you did this right. You have this in your drawer, because he like I think you said, Kelly, men want to please you. They want to know that they make you happy. It's not a competition. It's so important to them to know they please you. So there are cases of women who cannot take estrogen, and women in general. We offer a procedure we call it the lady lift. You can Google it called the O shot. We use platelet-rich plasma. We draw your blood just like you're getting ready to get your cholesterol taken. Separate off the platelet-rich plasma, which is clear. Once it's and that's the healing, regenerative, that has all the healing and regenerative factors and growth factors that your body needs to heal. So we activate it. It can be injected in any part of the body, and it regenerates that tissue. Some people may have heard about folks it being used for hair growth, scalp restoration of hair. People have it injected in the face. It does wonderful things. And we inject it. Women come to us when they usually have issues with the bladder, when they have the guy that goes like, "Whoa, somebody," I call the Aurea. Somebody has the, "Whoa, open up the door, I gotta go," whatever. The guy that goes, and it improves bladder support by 80%. So while we're down there, since we have so much platelet-rich plasma, we pucker up the labia, because when,
That's it.
we've asked a lot of her over the years, and poor little thing, she's deflated and she's dragging, and man, babies, 30, 40, 30 years of sex and whatever. So we pucker up the labia, and we can also inject it in the clitoris, and it enhances the clitoris. It regenerates new cells, and it just, it really enhances orgasm. And the clitoris is so stimulated now. So we call it the lady lift. If you want to Google it, it's called the O shot. That's it.
Wow.
On.
Thank you again. I'm inspired again, once again, and I will be
done right in the office, right in the exam room, local anesthesia, so it's no surgery. It's, to me, it makes more sense to do something more natural than like laser,
yes,
etc.
absolutely.
And I think what I love most, because if you're having sex and you had a baby, whether I had a C-section, vaginal, whatever, but if you're having sex, you're peeing. And you're not incontinent. Incontinent is what your auntie has in the nursing home.
Yes.
It's a diaper, but you piddle when you giggle, or you pees when you sneeze. We have it's a little piddle. And the most important thing is it improves that by 80%. I could stand here and, I'm ready to go to the bathroom. You walk gradually to the bathroom, and you just go to the bathroom. And you know what? I'm selfish. I'm really selfish. It's all about me. Okay. So all of these things that I have brought into my practice is because I needed them. I was miserable. I remember the day I had the first hot flash. I was with this guy. He was younger, and I was at a party, fabulous party, hair all done, dress, whatever. And I started just dripping. It went down to my toes. All I wanted to get in the shower with some cold water. I didn't care about my hair, my makeup, my dress, or whatever. And so I had to find for me something that was safe, convenient, and effective, but mostly safe, because I love my girls. My girls have gotten me far in life. Okay. So I love my girls, they still give me a little, they still do a little, when I ask them, they can, they hook me up when I need. But but I wanted something really that's safe, seriously, as a physician, safe for me and effective, because I just wanted to be the best Gail Jackson for the rest of my life.
Absolutely. And I think there was another benefit, didn't you, to the lady lift? Didn't you say there's some aesthetic benefit as well?
It puckers it up. If you have a minute, I'll run and show you a picture. I'll come back with a little picture. It's so pretty because, and it just puckers it up.
We'll have you come back. We got to keep them coming back. I think they're really going to be interested
because
it
really puckers up, and a lot of ladies don't think that you can do anything about it. When your labia is all puckered up, you walk out straight out here with a different point of view. You got a different attitude when you're.
Oh yeah, like getting your hair and your nails done. You're like, you can't tell you anything.
Take that. And I have a few ladies that come about every 6 months to just have get your Botox and your Juvederm. You get it puckered up there too. Why not? There's a pretty kind of sort of famous singer who comes here, and she's now in her 70s, and she told me, she said, "Oh, my boyfriend," he said, "I'm just so pretty down there." Can you imagine how good she feels about it?
Amazing.
Right. Ebony, for her man to say, "You are so pretty down there."
Yes, that is amazing. And speaking of our partners and giving compliments, Kamali, are there some secrets our partners need to know that want so we can share with them to make us want to have sex and increase our drive, some tips for them.
I was like, I don't know if we have enough time. No, just
well, I don't know about you, but
I was like, I got a laundry list.
We can go as long as we need to go.
Yeah, there's a lot to know. One of the things I find that's a big difference a lot with like men and women that I encounter all the time is timing. Like the amount of time it takes to build a woman's arousal is still like a really misunderstood thing. This idea that you like, okay, in our 20s, there's like some exceptions where like you can go from 0 to 60, pretty easily. But over the course of time, especially after children and as we move into life, like a woman really does need that time to warm up. And so men learning how to massage, learning their woman's love language and how to build that, arousal over the day or the week. Learning how to, like, a lot of the tools that I give to couples are actually how to work with breath and presence. Like, how do you just first get rid of the garbage of the day and get present with each other so that you can connect, right? Before trying to dive right into intercourse or passion. Like so many couples I talk to about, their biggest complaint is about desire and it's about passion and losing that desire for one another, losing that like hot, passionate type of connection. And I'm like, the longer that you are with someone and the older that you are getting, like that is something you have to put in the work to create. Are you willing to do that? Because what creates, one of the big things that create desire is unavailability. Actually. So it's like if you're living with somebody, you're seeing a lot of them, you're sharing a bed together, like that, and you've created security and safety by building a life together, you've taken away all this unavailability. Now, it's one thing if you're both off working and doing your things and creating your legacies, then there might be some more longing and missing there. But then in either case, you still have to do something when you come back together to figure out how to reconnect and create that mutual, like, I see you and you see me. And I remember why I like you, why I love you, why I want to dive into you, right?
Right.
So having
wait, let's repeat that. You said one of the biggest things to create the desire is unavailability.
Yeah.
Wow. So to all the stalkers out there in the world.
a better way, another word I might use for it is mystery.
Right.
So to mystery. And that's something that does happen with sexuality, where couples will keep returning to the same things over and over as like, I know this works. We do this, then we do this, then we do this, right? And over time, that just becomes routine. And routine takes away that desire, right? You're like, well, I know it's coming. Like, he's going to do this, and this is going to happen, and he's going to fall asleep. So to reestablish the mystery, the curiosity, the novelty, right? These are things that actually take a little bit of creativity, usually a little bit of guidance to inspire how to do that. And these are things that I often work with couples because I do find that the desire is often there. And, women tend to be the first ones to shut down and get a little resentful that like, oh, he just doesn't know, or he doesn't appreciate me anymore, or whatever those pieces are. But a lot of times men just don't know. They're just like, tell me what to do, And what I find is that a lot of women don't know how to tell their partners actually what they want because they don't really know. They haven't really taken that time to understand their bodies and understand what turns them on now as opposed to like 10 years ago, and so just going on that journey together can be a fun play in and of itself. If you just as a couple commit to rediscovering who you are sexually right now and let that be an adventure, that alone can reignite some things. Yeah.
And, do you have any tips for women in finding that balancing act because of, there's this stigma for women, whether married and then especially with single women, how do you have that about being, not being perceived as aggressive, when it comes to relationships or encounters, if people are, there's a lot of stigma attached to them. And so how can women become more comfortable and know like what's a good amount of, you know, the right approach around expressing yourself, expressing your wants, your needs, and especially if you're not necessarily, you know, married, because, you know, the thing, women, and whether it's sex or just, you know, connecting, because you talk about connection and love and kind of building love, you know, there's, you know, a lot of us we grew up with the notion that the men had to pursue, we had to sit and, you know, wait to be pursued. But now women are beginning to pursue. And so there's women who pursue and women who don't pursue. And we're kind of like this. Women that don't pursue are like, hey, you all are messing the game up. And the women that pursue are like, hey, I don't know about you, but I'm getting mine. And so, you know, it's like, you know, where do you find the balance? You know, because, you know, I have this discussion with girlfriends all the time, you know, and it's like, no, I'm waiting on him. No, I'm going to get him. Well, what's right? Because sometimes the women who go to get him chase too hard. And the ones who wait, they wait too long and they don't know. So how do you find the balance?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And what you're getting into when we talk, the way we talk about it in tantric philosophy is about polarity. And you're getting into the dynamics of the masculine energies and the feminine energies, right? And this is sort of beyond gender roles culturally, but actual energetics. So part of what creates desire and attraction is this polarity, these two opposing poles of two different types of energy. So you want to have someone in that masculine pole and someone in that feminine pole. Whether that's a male-bodied person or a female-bodied person, that's all changing, right? So that's the part that's changing. And each of us, both men and women, biologically, by sex, we have masculine energy and feminine energy within us. This is what Tantra gets deep into, is how life gets created, is the merging of these energies, right? So what we have to learn how to do is become masters of which energy are we playing. So when we're in the pursual role, we're actually entering into that masculine energy, that like hunter, stalking, that very focused, I'm going after you energy. And that works really great sometimes, especially if you're approaching a man or a person who's more feminine in their energy. If they're an artist or they're just like really kind of laid back and cool, and they're not going to be the one that does that, you know, they're occupying more of a feminine energy. And so in that case, pursuing someone might be exactly the right thing to do. Now, if you know in your relationship and in your sexual play, you tend to want to be the more feminine energy. You want to be the person who gets to be softer, who gets to be fluid, who gets to be ever-changing, emotional, and dynamic, right? And you want your partner to be focused and lasered and steady and all these different things, then you're going to want to occupy that feminine energy, and you're going to want to like receive. So you're going to want to let yourself be pursued. You want to even your communication style and how you express sexually should be an invitation instead of an attack. Right?
Yeah. When you don't know what you're doing, right? It's like, oh, that's kind of awkward.
Yeah. And so this is what's happening, is we're kind of fumbling around because, you know, we're dissolving these ideas of gender, but we still live in male bodies and female bodies, and there is masculine energy and feminine energy. And we still need to know how all these things work and when to use them and how to use them and what our purpose is. It's just gotten more complex because the rules are changing, right? So we can't follow these set rules to get a set outcome anymore. So that's kind of how I approach that, is helping people understand the energies and how even in their own relationship, how to play with those different dynamics depending on what they want to experience and what they want to create with one another.
And you mentioned Tantra. And I'm sure there are plenty of people who are watching, me included. I know a little bit. I literally just learned about it about a month ago, a little bit, maybe a little more. Tell us what Tantra is, what Tantra yoga is, and how you work in that space and being a certified expert in it.
Yeah, so Tantra it's a very large world that I can never do justice with in explaining.
Okay.
But the simple version is you can understand it as a path of meditation. So it's not quite a religion, but it is a meditative path where yogis thousands of years ago spent a lot of time investigating the energetics of the body and the spirit and creating practices around how to reconnect us to those energies, how it all works. There's a very beautiful telling of the cosmology of how, the formless comes into form and all these different things. And so what we know about Tantra yoga is it's the actual practices of applying these philosophies, these tantric philosophies, through different things. And so even regular yoga, like asana yoga that people know, like hot yoga, flow, vinyasa, these kinds of things, they all came out of the same roots. So it all comes from the same roots. And there's lots of different streams and paths that are part of the tantric umbrella. So depending on which path, it's going to depend on what you get. But for most people here in the West, when they encounter it, they're encountering neo-tantra. And neo-tantra was like this update, taking a lot of tantric philosophy, blending it with Western psychology to help us heal a lot of the things that are blocking us from connection. And a big piece of that has to involve our sexuality because of a lot of the Judeo-Christian, shaming and different things that came in that initially were the big disconnect from our bodies. We're not connected to our bodies because they were often demonized by religions. Yeah. So the neo-tantric work seeks to undo that, which is how sexuality became such a big piece of it. But the heart of it is really about connection and restoring this connection back to the source of who we are, which is love. So.
No, thank you so much. Denise.
Yes.
Any questions, comments you want to insert?
No, I think both of these ladies have done an amazing job on explaining the intricacies of what they do.
I thought you might want to chime in on the sex conversation.
Oh.
you went straight business on me. We were having fun here.
Well, I mean, one, just that, Kamali does this for individuals. She's done it with two groups of friends of mine. I think we've had maybe 10 ladies or 12 ladies one time, all as a group doing this. Everyone had a great experience. Those who had boyfriends or husbands thought when they went back home that night that they were cheating because they had got such a treat that was unusual, because what Kamali had, the safe space that she had created, it allowed those women to release things that maybe they had never released ever in their life. And so they had an experience with, their spouse or significant other in a way that they had not had done. And it's so funny because those men are like, when you going back? When
right. Can we do this? Kamali, can we do this virtually?
We can. I teach virtually all the time.
Wow. Okay, that's great to know. We may have to have a private Zoom, no StreamYard for that session.
You just let me know.
Okay. I see a lot of potential for more conversations, more activities, whether virtual until we can get to live with you three ladies. I'm very excited about all of it, and we're not ending. I'm just already looking forward, and I'm going to be your next client, both of you. So I'll be following up, and we'll make sure that everyone gets your contact information at the end and how to follow you, and make sure they follow up if they're interested in appointments. Another thing that we have to talk about, for women and Dr. Jackson, we know that you are an expert in lots of areas, but we have to deal with the issues of, when women are approaching their 40s and 50s and what's happening around our waist area, that belly fat. Most of us are complaining. We've got fibroids that are causing, us to have expanded bellies. I'm actually one who has that, and because of COVID, haven't been able to get in to have my procedure. So it's just been so frustrating. Help us understand what we can do about that, what it's about, and what we can do about it.
Well, that losing those curves, one of the main concerns women in their 40s have, and it's pretty distressful because you worked hard, you work out,
exactly,
you're eating properly, and all of a sudden your body becomes mushy. It happened to me. Everything's happened to me. So the first thing, especially during this time, a woman should probably do is to engage in mat Pilates. Maybe find a Zoom class And I performed because I went to a Pilates instructor and I said, how do I lose this? And she said, you don't lose it. You need to lengthen it and tone it. So I did Pilates 3 times a week for a year. And oh my God, my body changed. Of all
Wow.
and the testosterone balancing is just, it's just so amazing. My girlfriends, we used to all be about the same height, and one's a little tall, our daughter's the same age. Well, I'm the only one so tall, and I love my height. It's one of my, I think one of my best attributes is my height. I'm 5'5", but I mean, I don't want to be 5'2" or 5'1".
Right.
Yeah, and so I think that the other thing during this time, other than the mat Pilates, is to just change your diet. And we have a food program and dieting and workout. We have a Forever Fabulous program to get 30 pounds off of you in 3 months. But if you just change your diet and get rid of the whites, get the whites out your life, and that's the pasta, the bread, the rice, and the potatoes. Eat them sparingly and hardly ever, and eat protein, vegetables, and fruit. And just those few things, because this is just carb stores. Your carbs are just settling there. So decrease your carbs, get into mat Pilates, and that's one thing you can do before you get in. And we are open Tuesdays and Fridays to get your hormones balanced.
Wonderful. Well, is there anything else that you ladies would like to say, chime in to like any of the conversations we've had with both Kamali, Dr. Jackson, Denise, before we go around for closing comments? But I want to open it up. I see we have not had any comments today. So, but I think I've asked all the tough questions and the difficult ones that our viewers may have wanted to, or at least a few, to get us started until the next time.
Yeah, 2 things. Number one, I think with Kamali, I really love the things she's saying, and I think that as women get older, when they teach their husbands how to please them, the majority of the foreplay needs to be done before the bed, because
Yes.
that erection is time limited now, and if it really is, it's time limited. So you've got to, like, it's now or it's gone, and I think the second thing is
real talk.
Yeah, when a woman is is choosing to get her hormone balance, just like I look at the 4 of us, there's nothing about us that's alike. So every woman is different, and her needs are different during that time in her life. They're individual compared to the 4 of us, and they change during her life. So the beautiful thing about bioidentical hormone balancing is we individualize your treatment now, and we can alter it and change it and adjust it as your needs change.
Oh, I love it. Kamali, is there anything you wanted to chime in on what Dr. Jackson or Denise shared? Tantra parties, is there a schedule?
Yeah, I mean, I guess 2 things. Well, one, and just like continuing on the erection part, because I know we didn't spend a lot of time talking about men and that the changes they are also going through. And just to say that, within the tantric world, there's actually practices for working with the soft penis. So for men who that is a thing, or couples that is a thing.
Oh, we've got to come back like next week. Can we come back next week?
This does not have to be
seriously. We'll make sure we'll do a lot of promotion and outreach around all these topics going deeper.
So I just wanted to put that out there for men who already have like a hang up about that. Just know that that's not necessarily a bad thing. It can be worked with.
Right.
And the other piece is, just that, like, I know these topics, like this subject can scare people, and we get a little tantalized hearing about it. But like, I'm always just amazed what happens when people take the steps to actually do the thing, like, doing the group with Denise and just trying something different. And a lot of this might sound very different or scary, but is actually like no different than going to like a jazzercise class, or like, like going to what you might be there. It's more comfortable and more familiar than you might anticipate. I'll put it that way. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, why don't you ladies do some closing comments, just general, anything you'd like to say about what you do that we haven't talked about or that you want to reiterate, and let everyone know how they can connect with you beyond today to learn more about the services that you offer in your practices. And Denise, and what you're doing with all of your great work.
Sure. So what I say is menopause is everybody's challenge, right? Because if you are a man and you have any woman in your life, your sister, your mother, your wife, your girlfriend, whoever, it's going to impact you. So it's everyone's, it's everyone's challenge when women are suffering. And one of the things that's definitely a certainty is that menopause, every woman is going to experience it, right? So we really don't have to experience it, as you've heard today, in this doom and gloom kind of way that unfortunately gets presented to women. And the average 50-year-old woman today is going to live 30 to 50 more years. And who wants to live 50 years in a state of suffering? I want to live the years the way Dr. Jackson has described, and the way that Kamali has described, that we can live those ways, right? And it's not it's within our reach. And you know, these are two women who are here in Los Angeles. So if you're in Los Angeles, that you can go to this, you know, so it's not like, oh, they're in Alaska somewhere, you can't go to them. So that's, you know, that's what WisePause is all about. It's about letting you know that there's another way. That way is so amazing that you do live the best part of your life and the end part of your life.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you for the great work that you do. I think we may need to have, instead of just an annual WisePause event, you know, I don't want to put a whole lot more work on you, but I think we need to have a few more regular check-ins throughout the year. So let us know if that is something you're considering.
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that. I'm definitely going to do an encore of this event, because I've had so many friends who have participated and women that participated that said, oh my gosh, you know, I didn't get a chance. I heard about it, or I didn't even know this was happening. So we're going to do an encore on October 18th, which is International Menopause Day. And then for next year, we are looking at doing a physical event again here in Los Angeles in September. But I'm also looking at doing like traveling around the country and doing sort of like these 90-minute talks. Because putting a big conference like that together, like in all these cities, you know, I just personally can't do that because I'm doing so many other things. But definitely doing sort of these really impactful, like what we did today, right? These 90-minute talks is what I think that I'm going to start traveling around the country.
Well, anytime, I would love to have the four of us gather. We can expand. We can, you know, have different, you know, breakouts on different topics, just to kind of keep the flow of information happening. Because, you know, I believe people need it now more than ever. And I don't know about you all, but I know people I've got a lot of quarantine marriages happening. I mean, people are not stopping. They're not stopping dating, you know, and, you know, some of us have, and some of us are like, okay, now we've got to figure this out because life is going to go on. So we still need, you know, this information. And now with people trapped, the people who live together, who are trapped at home together, how to improve the quality of life and the quality of their connection and experience, as you talked about, all of that is so important. So I'm so glad that you're here. So Dr. Jackson, well, Denise, tell people how to follow you, and then Dr. Jackson, and then we'll close with Kamali.
Oh, sure. So we have established a WisePause community, a WisePause group on Facebook. So it's WisePause Lifestyle Community. And there you're going to get more information. We're going to give you even stuff that we didn't do at the conference. So we have that. And then wisepause.com is our website.
Perfect. Thank you. Dr. Jackson.
Well, we have a Facebook page, drgailjackson.com. And we have Instagram, hashtag drgailjackson.com. But my website is www.drgailjackson.com. In all those instances, the doctor's not spelled out. And www.drgailjackson.com.
Wonderful. Any closing comments?
Oh, yeah. You know what we balance men. We get our women hot and, you know, we definitely balance men. And we have quite a few ladies who fly in to see us. So we are open on Saturday, the first Saturday of every month, and as needed. If someone, because everyone comes to Los Angeles, we want to come in to fly in and get your balancing.
Wonderful. Okay, Kamali.
Yeah, this has been so much fun. Thank you so
It
much,
has.
Denise, for creating a platform for this kind of information, and Dr. Gail for the work you're doing. You can keep up with me and everything I'm doing on my website. It's www.spaceforlove.com. So space, FOR love.com. And there's information there about either how to work with me one-on-one privately. I do a lot of virtual work, especially now with COVID. So that's possible no matter where you are in the world. I also have a live group women's program specifically to work with these things for women in a community of women. That will be up again next year. And then I have a virtual program working with the jade egg or yoni eggs that you can do self-paced on your own. So
great. No, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure hosting my new best friends. My newest service provider / best friends. We're gonna get very close. And I'm gonna introduce you to all of my best friends all over the world, because I believe we all need you. So
Yes.
thank you so much. This has been an incredible, informative, and impactful, conversation, and fun. I said, starting out with you, I said, we're going to have fun while, being informative, and we have achieved that. And I thank you so much for being with us today. And we're just going to say goodbye from here. I will see you next week at our next Impact Media Presents. And we're going to sign off, just give a wave, and we'll see you next week, everyone. Take care. Have a good one.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Love this.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.